Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, we saw that ES attempted to break below the 48 support, but failed to hold below that area, and responsive buyers pushed ES right back up. So heading into the open, at this point on the smaller time frames, holding above the 54 to 55 area and the 51 HVN and 53 HVN would signal buyers in control and buyers more dominant. Now on the upside, we need to see a breakout above the 60 to 61 in order for the buyers to really confirm that they are in control. If we can get a breakout above 60 to 61, then we can quite easily tag 64.5 to 66.5, where at this point we may not get much of a response. And from there we can even go up into the 69.75 high from yesterday and the 71 to 73 zone. So as long as we are holding the 54-55 area, which is essentially the breakout area from the overnight session on the 7:30 a.m. Central Econ releases, and we're holding above the 53 high volume node, then we can simply balance, and then if we can get a breakout above 60-61, then very likely that ES will test yesterday's high and the 71 to 73 zone before we see any kind of response from the sellers. And if there is sufficient momentum behind the move and broad market strength and buyers active in the other markets as well, then we could even see a move into the 76 and 78 quarter to 79.75. So right now, how the market behaves at the 51 HVN, 53 HVN, and whether it really maintains this breakout at 54.55 is really going to be telling. On the downside, we have initial support at 46 quarter to 49 quarter, and that's really going to be the final spot for buyers. If you break the initial support zone, then at that point, sellers could be in control, and from there we can get a liquidation move into 37.5 to 40.5 and 30.75 to 33.75. Sell side would be in firm control below 46 quarter, so we'll have to be careful at the 37.5 to 40.5 zone, and the 30.75 to 33.75 area would be a higher probability area for responsive buyers to be active. And if we are selling off on high volume and the other markets are actually breaking below their lows from yesterday as well, which at that point probably would be the case, then there would even be potential to tag 29 quarter and 25 to 27, although that would be a range extreme. So 30.75 to 33.75 is a good area for responsive buyers to be active. But if we've balanced for too much ahead of it, then we'll have to be careful even there, since sell side would be in control. So that's the secondary scenario in the event that the market fails to hold the initial support. So as long as we are holding initial support zone, as long as we are holding ideally above 53 and 54.55, then we have to be cautious on the short side and still continue to keep our focus more on the long side. Looking at the other markets, they are attracting buyers off of larger time frame support, especially the Russell. So this could be a short-term bottom in the equity markets here, and we may not really get too much more sell side activity. So going into the day, right now the market is range bound. We do have to see a breakout above 60.61 in order to confirm the buyers really in control and really confirm the breakout attempt above the 53 to 55 area. But as long as we're holding these prices, we are near some pretty decent support, and we'll need to be careful on the short side unless we're seeing some very clear-cut signs in real time. So if we are seeing sustained downside momentum, broad market weakness, and ES just completely reverses on a wide range bar below 53 to 55, then perhaps we need to be careful on longs and adjust our bias. But from a market structure perspective, until we actually break 46 quarter or 49 quarter, the buy side still has potential to remain in control. We've seen a nice base develop here in the overnight session, and holding above it could lead to some directional movement, especially if we can get that breakout above 60.61. That can accelerate the upside into yesterday's high and the 71 to 73 area. It's a pretty high probability objective on the upside. Now, beyond 71, 73, we'll need to see some pretty decent momentum to crack through that and go higher. But 71 to 73 is very much within range if ES can maintain the short-term strength that we've seen here in Globex. So that's really how the market is set up. It still requires flexibility in real time with your bias, but we have some pretty clear-cut reference areas and key zones defined that are going to help us establish that bias. So off the open, we're going to be watching to see, is ES holding above 53 to 55? That's going to be a signal that buyers are dominant. And then if we start getting some bigger downside momentum and initial support fails, well, that's where we have to adjust our bias. So, have a flexible approach with your intraday bias, because that's something that can change during the day. But right now, heading into the open, the buy side is more dominant on the smaller time frames, and if we can really hold here, then we could be seeing some pretty decent upside into the initial resistance zone, yesterday's high, and 71 to 73. In the event that we fail, 30.75 to 33.75 would be in play. So those are our main thoughts heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side can maintain the short-term control, and we'll take it from there.